All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. Today, we are featuring our guest speaker, Dr. Patricia Mcclintock, who is the contributing faculty and a faculty mentor at Kettering University. So today she will be discussing our topic on how to succeed as an online student. Thank you all again for attending. First, I wanted to give you all some quick basics on how today's meeting will proceed before I introduce myself. Just to notice that all attendees' phones will be muted during the entire presentation. However, there is a chat ask questions feature that's included within this GoToWebinar platform that we're using today, and we strongly encourage you all to use that freely during the presentation. I will be keeping track of any questions that come up, and we'll make sure we have plenty of time at the end to discuss those questions. Also, we will have two polls that I'll be sharing with you here shortly before we get started discussing today's topic. I also have one that I will be sharing at the end of the meeting this afternoon. So after each poll is completed, we will share the results with everyone. And again, we do very much encourage you all to participate during today's meeting. We will also be sending out a short survey after the call is completed, along with the recording of the items that are discussed here today. So please be on the lookout for those items in your inbox later this afternoon. So my name is Steve Johnson. I will be the moderator today. Our presenters today, again, will be Dr. Patricia Mcclintock, who also will be joined at the very end by one of our very own online professional advisors here at Kettering University, Claire Kelly, to talk more about the support that we actually offer our online students here at Kettering University for our online graduate programs. Before I have Dr. Mcclintock introduce herself and get us started this afternoon, I did want to go ahead and launch into that first of the two polls that we'll do here this morning or this afternoon. So we will just wanted to get a quick pulse from you all on kind of why you took time out of your day today to join today's webinar. Also gauge a current perception that exists out there for the online learning environment before we present the information in today's meeting. So with that said, I'll go ahead and launch, and I will give everyone a few moments to complete these. Again, your engagement's very much encouraged. So we will start the first one. So the first one just asks, why did you join today's webinar? And I will give everyone, about 10, 15 more seconds to finalize. All right, I will go ahead and close that out and share. So it looks like a lot of you all that joined today are looking to learn more about the online support that's available to online students. So that's great. I do believe that you guys will get a lot of information out of this. And I also see some that are just looking at potentially going back to start an online program. So again, I think this will be very beneficial for you all today. So I will now go right into our second poll. And this one's just asking a simple true or false question. So the question answer asks itself as you'll see here. So is the learning experience is easier than a traditional learning experience? True or false? So all right, I will close the poll here shortly and share those results with everyone. All right. So interesting. So almost 75% of the attendees today believe that the online experience is not as easy as the traditional learning experience. So some savvy attendees today. So obviously, I think that kind of speaks to why you all are here. You all understand that there are obviously some different nuances with an online learning environment, and that is what we will be talking about today. So with that said, I will go ahead and get us started. So I believe this information, like I said, will be beneficial to you all. And it's my honor now to introduce you all to Dr. Patricia Mcclintock. Dr. Mcclintock, thank you again for taking time to be our panelist today. Can you go ahead and please tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started on today's topic?
Certainly. Thank you, Steve. Thank you for the introduction. I would like to say greetings and good afternoon to fellow learners, and to let you know that I am very excited to be participating in this brand new online program. I am extremely passionate about online education, and given any opportunity, we'll talk about it, and so I certainly appreciate this platform today. I have taught and been exposed to online education in many different areas for the past 15 years, and I'm really eager to share experiences that could possibly increase the chances of your success as an online student. Thank you for bringing up the slide, Steve. So to get started, first thing that you need to do is to ask yourself, are you really ready to be an online student? Because becoming an online student, especially in a fast-paced graduate program, where most likely you have many other responsibilities, is a huge undertaking. Committing to a class is one thing. Committing to an entire program requires major desire, major goal setting, and major dedication. So with that being said, the decision to become an online student should weigh very heavily on your long-term goals. The reason I chose this slide is because when I talk to students who are considering or beginning to embark on a new program, I do repeat the word prepare many times because I cannot say that enough. Deciding why you're considering an online program versus a traditional approach is a good question as you prepare, a question to ask yourself. You really have to think about the reasons why you want to take an online class or program, because as you said in your poll, you realize that it really is it takes more time to do an online program. But because we are all immersed in a society where everything needs to be done yesterday and everything moves at such a fast pace, you may be saying to yourself, well, I need to do this degree online because it's the only way I can do it. A good way to prepare, another good way to prepare, is to debunk a lot of the myths regarding online coursework by talking to other people who've experienced it. Understand that being an online student is not easier than being a traditional student, which you are obviously already aware of, and many times it's much more rigorous. Thank you, Steve. You're keeping up with me very well. So here's a list of some of the considerations and some of the expectations that you'll want to think about, because you must remember that the time commitment, having an open mind, and being self-directed are just basic expectations of online students. It's important to understand the concept of time on task. If your class is 3 semester hours, you may need to factor in the possible need of studying for 9 hours a week. First of all, you're not going to class once or twice a week, and you have to consider all the time that if you were in a traditional program, you would be spending outside of class doing your homework. Another important consideration is to make certain that you have the necessary technical equipment, and nowadays, with the wide availability of the internet, there are really no excuses for not having access anymore. Also know there could be a steep learning curve if you've previously not had an online experience. And as we all know, whenever we start something new, things don't always go smoothly right out of the gate. So I always caution students to be somewhat pessimistic and then be pleasantly surprised. It's really important to psych yourself up as you begin and channel that positive energy and understand that there is going to be a learning curve and plan on making some mistakes. But with a little extra effort and a little more time invested, you can be very successful. To motivate yourself, work on really cultivating your self-confidence by simple things like saying, yes, I can do this. I know I can do this. And you say it over and over, and you begin to believe it, and then it can be true. Be open to also possibly changing and challenging the way you think about school. Because you are not considered present. No one sees you sitting in front of your computer unless you contribute, unless you are writing, unless you are communicating. So it's really important to be responsive to your instructor and your fellow learners, and you will have to do all of this communication through your writing. And especially know that you will have to carve out time in your schedule for doing the homework. Next slide, please, Steve. So, with all of those considerations and expectations, do you think that you're ready to be an online student? Now's the time to determine what your available time is, the technical equipment that you'll need, the technical skills that you'll need to have, and then think again about your motivation. By seriously committing, knowing why you are doing this will help keep that motivation high, and it will help alleviate and make it able for you to solve the problems that you might encounter. Ask yourself some of these questions. Why am I doing this? Am I really serious about what I'm doing? What's my goal? What promotion will this program help me to achieve? And finally, do I really have the time? Next slide, please. So I have made a very long list of all the things that I think are really important, and I have learned through trial and tribulation in all the years that I've been involved in online education as a learner, as an instructor, as a facilitator, and as a mentor. I can't say enough how important it is to hone your writing skills. And the one nice thing about Kettering is that your advisor will put you in touch with a lot of student resources, but it's good to be ahead of the game and make certain that you have the ability to operate words so that you can check all your spelling, that you have a good handle on what it means to be able to communicate well in writing. I cannot express enough how important it is to know how to format your paper, because in a graduate program, learners are expected to know this. And thinking long term, if you go on for that final degree, that terminal degree, that is something that will have to be automatic in your mind. So it's really important that you know APA. There are a lot of different styles out there, but I do know that APA format, the American Psychological Association follows, is the format that Kettering requires. It's also very important that you're familiar with the online library. The library has changed so much over the years that it is so easily accessible. But unless you know how to access the library at the school that you're going to go to, it could become an obstacle if you wait until the last minute and you have an assignment and you need to do some research. So that's something that you want to do ahead of time in one of your preparatory skills to really hone, to know how to do research, how to go through a search engine, know what databases have what information. And most, I'm sure that the Kettering Library has an orientation that would be very helpful to check out and become familiar with before you even begin your class. A very important factor that I have noticed in talking with students is you have to create your own space. Since you're not going to class once a week and you're not sitting in a desk, you have to create your own personal workspace, because the time that you are able to carve out to work on your coursework will be limited because of all your other responsibilities. So it's really important to have a positive environment in which to do your work. So it should be organized, it should be neat, and it should be easy to access all the supplementary materials that you need to accomplish your required coursework. When you register for a class and you start your first class, the nice thing about the Kettering program is that you're allowed access before the class even starts. So you get a little preview. You get to go in, you get to look around, you get to look at the calendar with all the assignments on it. It's a wonderful way to plan accordingly. I always encourage students to set up their own personal calendar and come up with a game plan, and always plan ahead. And anytime you can work ahead, because as we all know, life happens and the best laid plans sometimes go awry. Another really important part of preparing to begin an online program is to tell people what you're doing. Don't keep it a secret. Talk to family members, talk to your professional colleagues, talk to your friends, because you need their support. You need their support when you have to say no to them for perhaps something that they would like you to do. You need their support emotionally, because it's sometimes very difficult to meet a deadline, and you might have to say to them, I need you to do this for me so that I can finish my work. In other words, have a close-knit group of people who understand that you are on an academic journey and you really do need to have their support. It can make or break a student's success in a program. And so, of course, you sometimes do have to say no to things that might take time away from your studying. And most importantly, do your research. Most students, especially adult students, take a long time before they decide on a program. Once they decide, they're all in. But it's a good idea to be an informed consumer, because if you find out all the information ahead of time and you compare it with other schools that you're considering, you will be much happier with your decision in the long run, because you know that you did the research. And then once you do decide on a school and enroll, take advantage of all of the resources that are available. Student orientation, all of the library guides that I mentioned. Usually you can get computer software at a reduced price, and all those things are tools that you're going to put into your online toolkit to help you be successful. One more thing, if I may mention, I always think of the juggling balls analogy. Most people juggle 3 balls when you see people doing that as an art. But think of all the balls that you are already juggling in your life, your family, your career, planning your future, life in general. and now you're going to be adding another ball, possibly school. So you really have to carve out some time and rearrange your schedule so that you will be poised to take on this really exciting, adventurous journey. It's something that I attended school as an adult student while juggling family and professional responsibilities, and I will be the first person to admit to you that it wasn't easy. But when I finished, I cannot express to you how self-fulfilling it was to say that I had done it. And I wish that same feeling for all of you, because you're obviously interested, you're here today, and I wish that same, I wish for you to have that same feeling of accomplishment. Okay, Steve, do you think maybe we can entertain some questions, or do you have some questions?
Yeah,
Or are we going to hear from Kelly now?
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and introduce, I wanted to introduce Claire Kelly, who is one of our
Claire,
professional advisors. So Claire, again, she works with a lot of our online students here at Kettering. And we've talked a lot about the support and the processes that are in place, but I wanted to give Claire some time to talk more about the personal approach that she takes with the students and the things that she does to help support them along their academic journey. So with that said, Claire, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Steve. Can you guys hear me okay? So, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what from my angle, I work in tandem with professors like Dr. Mcclintock to help make sure that you're having the most successful and most enjoyable graduate experience that you can possibly have. So I'm one of the professional advisors for Kettering University Online. What I do is essentially guide you and support you in your non-academic, so I'm not grading your work, I'm not, reading your assignments, but I am there to provide guidance and support in all the other aspects of being an online student. So as you can see here, everything starts with your welcome call. When you first apply for a program, you'll work with an enrollment advisor. They'll walk you through that entire process, and then they connect you with me. We get to know you a little bit better. We talk about what your goals are, and just like Dr. Mcclintock mentioned, it is a learning curve becoming an online student. So that's where we're here to help you to make that less of a curve. We know what to expect. We know how to guide you through the steps, especially in your first few classes. We're there to really give you that push that you need. So, we'll go through everything related to your degree plan. We register you for class. We help you start your financial aid process and make sure that's all wrapped up. We make sure you've done all of your online orientation and you feel comfortable with the classroom. We check in with you regularly to make sure you're doing well in your classes, to make sure nothing is going wrong, and then we stick with you throughout all of it to make sure that, with all the bumps in the road that you may encounter, you still reach that ultimate goal, graduation, and you have that personal satisfaction of completing your program. So essentially, Dr. Mcclintock and her colleagues are there to make sure you're doing well and being successful in your class with your academics, and myself and my colleagues are here to support you with everything else.
Great. Thank you, Claire.
You're welcome.
We are now going to go ahead and jump into our final poll of the day while everyone's here, just to see what you've all learned today about the various items needed to really be a successful online student. So I will go ahead and launch that poll now. And I will give you all a few minutes to complete. All right, I will go ahead and close this poll here and share the results. Good news is we didn't scare anyone away to say that the online learning environment's not for them, so that's good. But it's also really encouraging to see that there is a good mix of folks here who this has really helped compel them to say they're ready to take the next steps. So that's really great. And then I'm also encouraged to see that there is a split almost right down the middle of those who are ready, but they realize it's actually going to take a little more work than they had initially thought. And then there's still some that are preparing that know they have a little more preparing to do based on some of those tips that Dr. McClintock shared. So very good results, and thank you again for that engagement. So with that said, we will now move over into our Q&A portion for our meeting today. Again, please feel free to type any questions now that you all may have in the questions box within the tool from this GoToWebinar series. So I will be able to ask those to Dr. McClintock so we can take advantage of her valuable insight this afternoon when we have her available. So I will give everyone a few moments to type any questions that you all may have, and we will go from there.
While we're waiting, may I just interject a few more things, Steve?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to say that I wanted to stress the fact that online students need to make the choice to be proactive as opposed to being reactive, because you're usually too late if you wait to be reactive, because online programs are tending to become more accelerated and more fast-paced each day. And the thing about what I'd like to point out is that the people that are here in this webinar are doing exactly that. They're being proactive. They're finding out information ahead of time so that they don't get into a situation. They're gathering their knowledge, which I think is a really important observation that I can make here. And it's these type of people that will be successful, because in a way they're communicating their possible commitment.
That's great insight and great points. So, all right.
I can just keep on talking. I can just keep on talking until we get some questions, if you like.
I do have a few questions that have come in. So, first one I will that I have here is, what is the biggest obstacle that typically gets in the way of a student's success online?
I would have to say without reservation that the biggest obstacle is time management. We all have we all have great ideas on how well we can do things, but when the rubber hits the road, sometimes, I don't know about any of you, but I have a feeling you might do too much. And many of the people who enroll in online programs are type A personalities, that are people that like to get things done. They like to get more things done than other people. And sometimes we have a tendency to be overzealous. So I cannot impress enough from personal experience that you have to be very rigorous in setting up a schedule that you will go and you will do your work at certain incremental times in order to accomplish the coursework within the requirements. Because once you start the class, it's kind of like a roller coaster. It builds up, and then all of a sudden it seems as though everything's due. So it's really important to manage your time, have a schedule, whether it would be on your phone or a paper and pencil calendar next to your computer, or Post-it notes all over your office space, whatever. Knowing how to manage your time is just like knowing how to study, because you're not going to be able to read everything in graduate school. You're going to have to skim some things. You're going to have to read the things that are important and the things that are going to allow you to complete the assignments in a successful manner. So I would say that time management can be the biggest obstacle or your best friend.
Thank you. All right, next question. This one comes from Don. He asked a couple questions, and I can answer the first one. He asked if there are any future programs offered for undergraduate programs. And if I'm understanding that question correctly, Kettering University does not currently offer any of our undergraduate programs online. Now, with the way that the future is heading for education, it could eventually happen. But right now, we just offer our 3 graduate level programs online. We have a Master of Science in Engineering Management and a Master of Science in Operations Management, and then a Master of Science in Lean Manufacturing available currently online. So, and he did have a good follow-up question though, and this is something I think Dr. McClintock, you can answer more. He suggests he'd like to know a little bit more about how the online format works with the instructor-student interface, and how to get tasks uploaded, things like that. So maybe from your perspective, can you kind of talk through a typical class and how you engage with the students and what that learning style is like for the Kettering programs that you teach?
Absolutely, that's an excellent question. The instructors in the Kettering program are, the term is guide on the side. As an online student, you are responsible for your own learning, and that is a big flip from the traditional approach. An online instructor provides all the material in the classroom, and your interface consists of a discussion area where you're going to interact with the instructor as well as your fellow learners. Usually, you are responsible for responding to at least one discussion a week, and that discussion usually ties into the content for the particular module of the week for that class. You will be responsible for posting a response to the discussion question, a quality response the discussion description will tell you probably a couple of points that you need to hit. And then after that, that is usually due. You're allowed into the class 2 or 3 days ahead, and then by Tuesday of the first week, you are required to have that discussion posting. Then that's by day 2, and then by day 5, you are then have time to read your fellow learners' postings and interact and provide some supplementary information or perhaps a contrasting view. And if you do 2 responses to your peers, then you are eligible to receive all the points for that discussion. You are graded and you receive points for this participatory assessment. The next interaction is that the faculty member for each class is required to hold virtual meeting times, and the instructor makes him or herself available 2 to 3 hours a week, either by phone or in Google Hangouts, which some of you may be familiar with. Also, you can use Skype, whatever the learner and the facilitator agree upon. And this allows for some individual interaction and a way to connect with the instructor that obviously we can't do in the online forum because it's asynchronous. Other ways that we communicate, and it's the most used way, is an email system within the online learning management system Blackboard, and it's called Course Messages. And you can individually email your instructor with any follow-up question that you might need some extra explanation, or have a question about an assignment or anything of that nature. So there's varying levels, and there are lots of opportunities for interaction, which sometimes people don't realize in the online because you can feel very isolated. There's also a class cafe where students are only allowed to use, and they can go into that area and just exchange information. It's like going to have a cup of coffee after class, but you're in the online Class Cafe. One other item, and I'll wrap this up, one other item that we have just are piloting in our Blackboard system is an Ask the Instructor thread. It's a wiki, and students can ask a question in this public area, a question that perhaps will benefit all the students in the classroom. And that's something that we're piloting in a couple of the classes this year, this term, to see if it's helpful and if it's being used. So you can see there's various different ways to interact, and we also I encourage learners to connect with another learner and say, you know, would you like to maybe talk or chat about this particular, our final project, and kind of work together? It's a good idea to have a cyber classmate, because they can it's always good to have someone to bounce ideas off of in areas outside the classroom.
Very good, thank you.
Certainly.
So Rita asked a couple questions here, just to clarify. So one thing I think you just started hitting on there that she was asking about was, do any of our courses offer team learning where there's team projects or things? It looks like she might be considering some online MBA programs. And Rita, just so you know, we don't currently offer an online MBA program for Kettering University, so I don't want to speak to what other schools offer there. But for our purposes, like I said, we do not offer that currently. But Dr. McClintock, do we have any current team projects that we can talk about?
We do. And I think it's important in a graduate program, because most of what is in the Kettering curriculum, they really want you to have the feeling that you learn it today and you use it tomorrow. And that means in most of our professional capacities, I know in mine, I have to work in a team. I'm a member of a team. So therefore, that is going to be replicated in the classroom. So yes, there are several courses where you are assigned to a team and you will have responsibilities to complete a portion of a group assignment, and then you also have the opportunity and you receive points for doing a peer evaluation at the end of the team project, which I think is very unique, and it gives the opportunity to showcase how much you've participated, because the downside to working as a team in an online environment, well, first of all, of course, the geographical distribution is a problem sometimes, but that you can work out through email and through other forms of communication. But sometimes the argument or the complaint is, well, there's 4 people on my team, and so didn't do this, and so never showed up for our meetings, and I ended up doing all the work. That's that is a viable problem. But in the Kettering curriculum, you do an evaluation of your peers, and you receive points for that. So I commend them for seeing that as a possible issue, and knowing that you are going to be held accountable by your peers. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's very insightful. The other question that I do want to clarify here, just for the sake of everyone on today's call, is there's sometimes this misconception that an online degree is lesser than a ground degree. But I do want to clarify, for all of our Kettering University programs, when you graduate, your diploma will not say online on it. It'll be just as if you got a degree from Kettering University. So I know that sometimes people are worried about accreditation, or a lesser accreditation, or lesser work, if you will, from an online perspective, but that is definitely not the case with Kettering programs here for our online programs. They are just as rigorous, and as we've talked about, if not more so just due to the time commitment for our online programs as our ground programs are. So
that is correct, Steve. Years ago, when online was just ramping up, many years ago, that reputation existed, but the scales have completely tipped, and I think the accrediting agencies have caught up with all the criteria that they need to do to evaluate the rigor of an online program. And you are absolutely correct that there's nothing on the diploma that differentiates online or brick and mortar approach. If you earn a degree from an online graduate degree from Kettering or any other school, it is just as valid as if you sat in class for X number of hours. Very good point.
Yeah, then there's a couple other questions here. I do want to, a couple of these I think can be answered, and I just want to point out. So on the screen you'll see we do have our website online.kettering.edu. So there's plenty of information more about our programs there. There's also a phone number included there, the 844-341-2516. Some people have asked about examples of coursework or things. So obviously, we can't send too much of that out because of student privacy, but we do have some sample homework assignments and things that people have found helpful when you guys, if you call that number and you are wanting more information about the courses themselves, our team is happy to provide that in their discussions with you all. So
that's great.
So I think there's only one more question that I have. This is the last one, I guess, today, unless anyone else has any other ones to ask. Are there any final recommendations for successful study habits for an online course, and how do those differ from a traditional ground campus approach?
I think I have to go back to what I said about setting up your personal workspace and having access to all of the items that you need to be successful. And it's going to be different for different people. But I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have all of the tools in easy access, because more than likely you're going to be doing a lot of this work at off times, meaning late at night or very early in the morning, and you might not be able to run to the library. So you want to be able to access the library very easily. You want to have all of your documents, all of your assignments, all of the material related to your course very well organized electronically. Books, you have a little personal library with a book on writing, your APA book, your other courses that you've taken. A lot of times you can reference material that you've already created and use it as supplementary material. There's a wonderful thing that many libraries have, and I do believe Kettering has it. It's called RefWorks. And you can set up, it's a whole bibliographic database where you can look up articles, put them into your own personal RefWorks, and they're all there to organize, categorize, and with the press of a button, it creates, voila, an APA formatted document of references. Pretty amazing.
That is.
So to answer that question, to wrap it up with a nice little bow, which I like to do, is to set up your personal classroom. But there's one more thing that I want to tack onto that, if I may. And it does sort of reiterate a little bit of what I said before. Just a couple more things, because it looks like we are wrapping things up here, Steve.
Yeah, you have time.
Expect the unexpected, always. I think I mentioned that earlier. Take advantage of all of those ways to connect with faculty. They like students to reach out. They like students to ask questions, whether it be in the discussion forum where everyone can read or in individualized course messages. They want to help students. That's their mantra. That's what motivates them. And then when I mentioned the idea of the importance of family support and telling people what you're doing, they don't want you to think that you're just sitting at the computer surfing the web many hours a day. Communicate to them your serious commitment about this and garner their support. But try to find, whether it be in the class that you're taking, a cyber classmate, for example, but even better, try to find someone that'll go with you on this journey, an academic mentor, somebody that you can connect with emotionally, that will provide you with the emotional support that you will need. That's a very, very important piece of the puzzle, of the online puzzle.
Great.
I had one.
Yeah.
I had several. And I try to pay it forward. And that's what, and there are people out there, because I love when someone says to me, I'm going to go back to school and I'm going to get my master's in engineering, and I really want to move up the career lattice to this particular position, and I will be their cheerleader, and I will be their sympathizer, and I will be the person to point them in the direction of perhaps something that they need that's going to make them successful. And if you can find that person, that almost guarantees your success. And of course, hold on to that person with both hands.
Absolutely. Excellent. Well, there are a couple of people that are asking me some questions that I think are specific to a unique program that's available to Kettering. So for those that are asking those questions, there are different follow-up processes. This is just meant to be more general about our programs that are available to everyone in the public, that like I said earlier. So there are some different, I know, corporate partnerships that Kettering has in place. So for those, obviously, please refer to your human resources team to get more information about how to get involved with those. So with that said, there are no more questions for the day, so I will go ahead and wrap things up. I did want to take time again to thank everyone who participated today, along with our fine panelists, Dr. Patricia Mcclintock and Claire Kelly. We hope you all have learned some valuable information this afternoon, and we look forward to hearing from those who are interested in our online programs that we do offer here at Kettering University in the very near future. Quick reminder also, we will be sending a link out to the email that you provided following today's meeting with a short survey, as we do plan on continuing to host webinars in the future, and are always looking for more feedback to make this as productive for you all as possible. And obviously the most important place we can get that feedback is from our audience members. So be sure to keep a lookout on our website at online.kettering.edu for upcoming future webinar dates. We do have these every few months or so. So thank you all again, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank
you for the opportunity. It was wonderful to participate. If any of those questions I can answer that you may get, please feel free to pass them along to me, and I'll be happy to respond.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.